Not long ago, Liverpool in the hunt for a quadruple, but after a week to forget, it's just the Premier League or bust.
That is it. Desiree Doué has got the winning penalty for Paris Saint-Germain. They came to Anfield tonight. They've won the game.
Everyone thought the second leg being at Anfield, it's a foregone conclusion. Liverpool never lose at Anfield. They get beat on penalties there.
They can't keep putting in performances, Liverpool. I said they've not been great all season. People think I'm being bitter. Tonight proves it.
The quadruple was stopped by Plymouth. The Champions League quest has been stopped by Paris Saint-Germain.
Murphy with a header. Down to Isak. It's a second goal. It's another goal for Newcastle United. Liverpool 1, Newcastle 2.
A season that started off with so much promise with Arnie Slot. All of a sudden now the trophies have dwindled away and you've ended up with the Premier League, and yes, it's still a fantastic season, but you do start scratching your head thinking, what could have been?
They've just lost 2 games on the bout. It does take the shine, of course it does. And now you've got 3 players that haven't signed their contract.
It does feel a bit of an anticlimax.
2 disappointing evenings for Liverpool. They need to bounce back now.
I mean, surely the Premier League's in the bag, isn't it? Will Arsenal be getting excited?
When it all goes wrong.
Yes, 5 weeks and 10 matches ago, Liverpool faced elimination from the FA Cup, and that was at the hands of Championship side Plymouth Argyle. Since that time, they've also been ousted for the Champions League and suffered defeat in the League Cup final. Nevertheless, they hold a 12-point advantage over Arsenal at the top of the table, and there's only 9 games to go. Former Liverpool striker Robbie Fowler, what a finisher he was.
Proper player.
Proper goal scorer.
How much would he be worth in today's market?
You couldn't buy him, Troy.
200?
Honestly.
200 mil?
Aye. See, when you talk about the brilliant strikers, and there are that's played in the top flight in England, brilliant strikers, but out and out finishers.
Yeah.
Robbie Fowler for me comes into the equation, and he joined White and Jordan yesterday and criticised the club's handling of their star players' contract situations.
Not just if Mo goes, I think if Mo stays, I think they should be going on and getting players like that anyway. So, you look at the great Manchester United teams of the past, and when they were winning stuff under Sir Alex, it was maybe one player who was coming in and just sort of giving everyone that little bit of lift. Now, I know, people's opinions of football clubs now are simply going by this player, that player, and just getting as many players as you can into that squad. But if you've got 1 or 2 really make a difference and give everyone a lift, players and fans, then I think we're all for that.
Your big mate is Steve McManaman, so you'd have been aware when Real Madrid came calling of the sort of emotional pull between staying at Liverpool and joining probably the biggest club in the world, if not one of the biggest clubs in the world. With that in mind, what chance Trent Alexander-Arnold turns them down?
Well, it's tough, isn't it? Because obviously you are talking about, and as much as we love Liverpool, and you've got that little bit of bias because we're Liverpool lads and we think everyone should be in that Liverpool and just staying there. But obviously with Trent, he's going to get linked with all these great clubs because he's a great player. In fact, he's a brilliant player. So why wouldn't he be getting linked? I'm a Liverpool lad. I want him to stay. I want him to win everything with Liverpool. But if he was to go, then I genuinely wouldn't have any complaints.
Interesting, Robbie. Always a good listen, that's for sure. Now, despite racking up an incredible 27 goals and 17 assists in 29 league games, Salah's record in finals has not been up to scratch. We've just been hit with the stats here. They've put them in front of us with only 2 goal involvements in the last 9 finals. Now, I'm going in first. I think he's been unbelievable. I absolutely think he's been unbelievable, and I think I've seen him been played exceptionally well the last 3 or 4 games. You mentioned Livramento at the weekend.
Yeah.
PSG's left fullback, the Nuno Mendes,
yeah,
I thought was sensational against them. Now, he's come in, we're asking a question now, he's coming in for a little bit of criticism because it's his 2 goal involvements in 9 finals. So we're asking a question here, is he not a big game player? I would suggest that it looks a little bit like Liverpool might just become a little bit too reliant on him as well. I accept that he's not delivered in those last very important games, but in my opinion he's still in line for the player of the season.
Oh yeah, that's nailed on. I think the numbers, when you look at the stats that we've got here, which is from 2019 Champions League, he scored 1 goal, 0 assists, obviously scored from a penalty, but from 2019 FIFA Club World Cup, 2021, AFCON 2022, FA Cup, 22 Champions League, 22 Carabao Cup, 24 Carabao Cup, and 2025. All bar one being out injured, he hasn't scored as an assist. Now, I think when you look at it like that, it's quite difficult to argue against the fact that he's you'd say he's not turned up in those games, but you'd have to look at each individual one. I'll just talk to this weekend. I didn't see a moment in that game where I thought he was going to score. I didn't. I thought he played against him really well in Newcastle.
Yes.
I do agree with you that when Liverpool are at their best, it goes all through Salah. I think it showed to me how much they will miss Trent if he's not in the team, because they do have Kwanzaa, they do have Bradley, but they're not the same type.
No, not the same quality.
They're not somebody that, you know, when you're doing you're looking at it from a coach the day before, you're going, right, we try and stop Salah, but if we double up here, we give Trent all that space to put that dead ball in, which kills us.
Yeah.
I think with him out the team, it looks one dimension was a bit harsh, but very much predictable in what they could do. I'm a big fan of Salah's. I just don't think he's world class. I think his numbers and his stats are excellent, but that's just my opinion, and everyone has their opinion, right?
So you think he's a great player but not world class?
I just think that what I think is world class, what I consider world class, is that feeling you get when you watch. So when I watch Ronaldinho play football, and I go, do you get what I mean? That feeling.
Yeah.
I said Eden Hazard as well. That's the season he had at Chelsea. Luis Suarez, the season he had. I think he had those feelings when you watch somebody like, oh my God.
Here's one for you.
Go on.
Is the centre back world class?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he is.
I think so.
I think Van Dijk's out of this world.
I think there's a different feeling again when you see classy centre halves that are never really out of position. It doesn't lift you off your seat. You have to see the nuances of it. But again, people think Salah's performances have dropped because of like Ramadan and he's fasted and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's not his first or second time, fasted. He's been doing this for throughout his whole life.
Well,
so I don't put that as a.
It's an interesting one, and I think justifiably been very complimentary towards Liverpool this season.
Yeah.
I think the way they've handled it. I also, by the way, I'll mention it again, I thought the players and staff handled the situation exemplary well, really well, in exemplary fashion. Congratulating Newcastle, which they should do.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's worth mentioning. I thought they were great in defeat.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just a little bit concerned now, because as great a season as they've had up till now, they're now only capable of winning, to be fair, the one that they would have wanted more than anything. But now there's no doubt they've handled the contract situations really well, because it hasn't really been in the focus.
Yes.
Now it will.
Absolutely. And I think
it will.
Do you know what I said as well, Ali, in my column in The Sun at the weekend? I said, when you look at Liverpool, it shows to just how big a team it is, and just how big a institute they are.
Yeah.
That we're going, it's been a poor season, they've only won the Premier League. And the expectations, because obviously last year they was on for the quadruple, and this year they're on for the quadruple. I think it's just a case of they're unfortunately being in a situation where they're that successful that people think one trophy's not enough, and that's a huge compliment to them.
Definitely, mate. Okay, well, coming up, there's a lovely wee story here. After the break, we'll speak about one of the crazy reasons.
talkSPORT Breakfast, waking you up Monday to Friday morning from 6 a.m. on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app, and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.